everybody. Thanks so
Hello.
much for joining us. I'm Christy Price. I'm a Squarespace expert and educator. And today I'm here with Neal Mann, who is the founder of NOAN, your superhuman business partner. And Neal, I've been playing around with NOAN for a while now. And I was just telling you before we came on live that it is crazy to me. Every time I log in, you guys have made improvements and there's something new that NOAN can do. So before we jump in, would you introduce yourself and then just share a little kind of overview of NOAN and what it does?
Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of NOAN, as Christy mentioned. We are building your superhuman business partner. Our goal is to build an AI-powered business partner that works for any entrepreneur or any business that's looking to grow and scale. NOAN enables you to create a couple of things. One is a single source of truth for your business around what your business actually is. I think that's one of the key things that is missing for a lot of people in how they use AI, is that they may be going back and forth with ChatGPT or Anthropic and they're wrestling the bear trying to get what they want, or they're pointing their LLMs at their shit show of business documents, which is largely the enterprise approach. And in neither of those, they're getting accurate output. So NOAN enables you to create a true single source of truth for your business. You can manage multiple companies on there. And it's very much, I had a user actually, like a couple of weeks ago, he said to me, it feels like they've got a superhero sat next to them, which to me was like the best piece of feedback. And they've actually gone and built their website out on Squarespace. So it enables you to kind of build and manage your business with a true kind of partner. So that's kind of where we fit. And I can kind of talk through a bit more.
Yeah.
Hey, Christy,
well,
thanks
hi.
for
So glad you're here. So one of the things that I find particularly interesting, and we've talked about on these before, is how Squarespace designers are using NOAN. So coming from that world, I know last time we talked through how to get easy content from your clients using NOAN. You had rolled out client mode. And then today you were talking about how you've seen Squarespace designers grow their business through new offerings that they're using NOAN for as well.
I think that's one of the key things that's been interesting with us with working with Squarespace designers using the platform. You know, as you mentioned, we got great feedback from a lot of your audience and other Squarespace users that's led to us building and developing client mode. And for anyone watching, I'll give you a demo in a minute, but client mode enables you to easily onboard your clients into an environment. So no more kind of back and forthing with documents and hoping you get what you need, enabling you to give them the content creation capabilities if you want, and I'll show you a bit about that in a second. So we got a lot out of the way with client mode, but what we're really seeing as well, and to be honest, any Squarespace designer is just experiencing what global agencies are experiencing right now, right? Which is the world I came from. I worked at a large global creative agency, and you know, you've got a couple of things. You've got pressures on what you're offering, and you're looking to expand your revenue and think about how else can you make money as a Squarespace designer. In the same way, if you're a big agency, you're looking at the same thing. So what we're seeing is Squarespace designers using NOAN to build out the strategy for their clients, like web pages and structure, and get that all up and running and run multiple clients on there, yes, and easily onboard. But we're seeing them do things like packaging their content creation capabilities. So we've got a number of users who are, you know, what I would deem kind of power Squarespace users with quite a few clients. They're now offering full content creation capabilities for their clients, their emails, their articles, and they are all running that within the NOAN environment because they can easily switch. So that's kind of one area that we're seeing a lot of kind of use from the Squarespace designers. And then the other thing I think is that, you know, a lot of people who come through and become a Squarespace designer, you know, they've almost accidentally fallen into it. And you and I have talked about in the past how I ended up building 5 Squarespace sites for friends after I built my own. Became a Circle member, and I could have easily turned that into, you know, a mini agency and built it from there. And I think one of the things we found is that a lot of people who've come through that space, they may not have the history of brand strategy. They may not understand content strategy. And why should they? You know, they might not come from the world. And I know at Circle Day, which we were at, you know, there were a lot of workshops around how to think about brand strategy. But because NOAN is so structured in the workflows, what it enables you to do as a Squarespace designer is actually like offer that now as a capability for your business, because step by step, block by block, you're using all of the structure that a global company would do to build out brand strategy. And it's all been vetted by, you know, our team and experts, so that you've got the right kind of things that go into brand strategy. And then you can then package that up and offer that to a client so that, very quickly you've got an extra offering. And I think what we're trying to build is a platform that enables you to have a superhuman business partner at your side. But if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a Squarespace designer or in another business, we want you to be able to expand and expand your business and grow your revenue. And what's been great is seeing a number of kind of Squarespace designers do that in that space.
Yeah. And another thing that you had mentioned that I find really interesting is, so if you're not familiar with NOAN, and I know Neal is going to jump in and give us a demo in a minute, but you fill out little bits of information about your company. So you're basically answering questions, and then NOAN takes those and collectively creates whatever you need based on your original information. And you can get help through LLMs as you go along that are kind of baked into NOAN. One of the things that we talked about earlier that was so cool is you're finding that it's really easy for new designers, so folks who are new to Squarespace, to spin up a pretend company and build out a website for their portfolio. And that's one of the pain points when you're getting started. It's like, well, I don't have a portfolio. You can create one so easily and quickly using NOAN now.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We've seen that from a lot of users, actually. In initial discussions with some people, they were like, I'm really early stage. I'm not sure I'm ready to use a platform like this yet because maybe I don't have loads of clients. Well, the beauty of NOAN is that you can run up to 5 different projects at once. So think of those as that could be a rebrand for your current company. It could be your client, your company plus 4 clients. But what that means is that you can then build out in minutes, like essentially fake businesses, create them within a Squarespace environment, get your screenshots, get your product walkthroughs of what you've built and developed, and you can do multiple different categories and you can reset them and do them again. And because the structure's there, it's really easy to export exactly what you need. I mean, I think a good example, and I'll demo it and show it, is, we built a fully live farm website for a farm brand as a demonstration within 30 minutes from the moment we started inputting content into NOAN to the moment we published live on Squarespace and got the site live in 30 minutes. And obviously, if it was your company, you spend longer, really, really fleshing it out. But if you're a Squarespace designer, this is brilliant for you, because if you're new and you don't have a portfolio, which a lot of people don't, maybe they've got a couple of sites they've built, all of a sudden you go, okay, what categories do I need sites for? What am I targeting? I'm going to start building out companies in those spaces. And because of the way NOAN connects the dots across the smart blocks, which we'll show, it's very, very quick. You don't even need to know much about that category and you'll have a business built out. So that to me is quite exciting, because we really want to help people get off the ground. And if that is you, by the way, there's a code down below that Christy's added that you can use, and just use that link. And you can get that up and running and out really quickly.
So Christine also had a really great point too. So a lot of us in the Squarespace designer community offer template shops. So we sell templates. So this, Christine, great point. You could use NOAN to create a template so quickly for your shop.
That's so true. And then you can show the different variations of how that template could come to life across different categories, right? It's like immediately you've got that. And I think the other thing that's good about it, if you're using it that way as a Squarespace designer to get going, is number one, you're building your company in an AI native way. And I think that is one thing that a lot of people maybe haven't fully considered where this world might be going. And it's it's happening very, very fast. And we're seeing that when we start with the functionality. But bolting AI onto traditional processes of documents and sending a PDF here and asking them to add a Google Drive there, it doesn't get you efficient output. And you'll often find you just running around playing whack-a-mole trying to get the right kind of content that you need to build a company. If you're starting as a Squarespace designer and you do it this way, you get your portfolio up and running with NOAN. The beauty then is when you start getting clients, you know exactly how the platform works. And you can get it running. And the one thing I should say that we are launching actually next week is we're launching what we're calling NOAN experts. And those, in the same way that we have Squarespace experts that are featured on the Squarespace site, they're individuals who understand the platform. We've given them an onboarding, given them a good understanding of AI, essentially given them a training. They get the NOAN stamp of approval, and then we'll feature them on our website as an expert to help their clients leverage NOAN business. Because we're seeing a lot of small business owners, and if you're a Squarespace designer, there's a high chance you're working with small business owners. There's a lot of small business owners now want to try and implement AI in their business, and they don't know how to do it.
Where do they even start?
Exactly. And they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. And if you become a NOAN expert, what that then enables you to do is go in with essentially our accreditation to say, I can help you implement AI out of the box, no code, nothing you need to know about technicalities. immediately. Here you go. And then again, that's one of the other things that we want you to be able to add to your revenue stream as a designer as you're going. So keep an eye out for that. I'll send a link out via Christy, but we're putting that together next week. So get in touch if that's something you're interested in.
Awesome. Well, should we dive in and take a look behind the scenes?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay.
We are on a new platform today, so I need to get used to it.
Yeah, so poor Neal. I throw new platforms at him every time we chat. I'm sticking with this one though, so I'm going to add this. And
we're the same actually, because we've been jumping between a couple of different platforms, and you get the odd bugs on some of these. But so welcome to NOAN. I want to take you through kind of how NOAN works, and what the environment we're in now is the assistant. The NOAN assistant is ubiquitous across the platform. It is your superhuman business partner. It's got a lot of powers for what it can do, and it can control a lot of your business on its own. And we're going to come back to that in a second, because I think it's just really important to level set on why the NOAN assistant is so powerful. And please, if you've got questions, just jump in the chat. My co-founder Markham's in there as well, so he'll be happy to answer. The key thing to understand about the way NOAN works is that you are always working with a single source of truth for what your business is. And if you think about that use case I talked about back and forthing with OpenAI, Anthropic, whoever it is, controlling facts within that environment can be difficult. It's like I said, it's like resting the bear, trying to let it know what the actual fact to your company is. The way NOAN works is that we break those facts to your company up into what we call smart blocks. So these are blocks of knowledge that are each an individual fact within your business. And just like in the real world, you can only ever have one single fact about a particular thing at the same time. Oh, I think we chopped off. Are we there? There we go. You can see that, right? So this is a great example. Project name, Peak Fitness. I'm in a gym in Sheffield in the UK. I like to use gyms as an example because everybody knows the business model. And this is a smart block. So once you've added this, it will lock that knowledge in. Then you can go through and start to build out the building blocks of your business. And if you think about what businesses are, they're ultimately just blocks of knowledge, blocks of facts of what you want the business to do, what you want it to behave, how you want it to behave, what you want to sell. And so you build these through what we call stacks. So this is the customer stack, which is essentially blocks that are built around the target audience. And I'll show you what these smart block environments look like. So as you go through, you'll be asked to either input information if it's something that you've got for your business, or you can generate it with AI in each of these block environments. And then NOAN will start to stack these together and connect the dots behind the scenes. So we've got the target audience here. This is Sheffield. It's next to the Peak District in the UK. It's very much an outdoor city, kind of thing you would find in like the Utah style environment in the US, really, because it's got the Peak District on its doorstep. So we're going through, and these audience interests for Peak Fitness, these have all been developed based on the blocks that have gone before in seconds with an LLM. So it's come out and reasoned what the kind of audience is, what they're interested in, what the barriers are. Now you can edit these, you can update them, you can save them, you can add your own if you've already got them. But once you lock them in, it locks it in as a piece of knowledge that's then a fact. And you'll see here, it says this is live for all assistants and create mode to reference. So when you save that, it's all of a sudden available for the assistants and create mode. And to Christy's earlier point, what that means is that you're always getting accurate output from the assistant, or if you're creating, and I'll show you creating in a second. So when you step through these, you can add as many stacks that are relevant to your business or your clients. So if you are, and I'll show you a Squarespace designer in a second that's set up on here. But if you are a designer, you would add that. If you're working with a farm business, you're working with an e-com business, all of these different blocks are relevant to each of these different sectors. And if there's any missing that you're looking for, just let us know and we can add them. But you can add those stacks. And then these are essentially, a good way to think about it, building blocks of the business. So if we come in here, we'll see, they've outlined their membership structure within this smart block for the pricing. And this is the only place that this will exist as a fact on how this structure works. So then it can be referenced at any point. When you're in these environments and you're in a smart block, you can work with the assistant at any time. And I'll show you here. So this is a great example. When you're working with the assistant, it knows a few things. It knows everything about the world through the APIs. It knows everything about your business through that single source of truth, but it also knows the context of what you're working on right now. So you can go back and forth with the assistant, just like it's a true collaborator and a true partner in this environment. And you'll see here, I've previously asked it, and by the way, your conversations here are always saved and always use them at any time. How can we make this more punk? It's kind of extreme, but it's a steel city, so it kind of makes a bit of sense. It'll come back with an overview of what we could do. And then I've said, okay, let's create a positioning statement for this. And it's written a positioning statement, and then we can just drop that in. And this will replace the block, and then it's live. And what that means is we've now redirected the positioning of the company as far as all the assistants in create mode are concerned. And we've also probably impacted different business areas, at which point we'll start to see that we get an alert to say that we might want to reconsider our value proposition because we've made a change, and we can bring that back online. But I'll go back into here and I'll just show you that we've made this a bit like coding. If you're in from the coding space, we'll revert this to the old one. So we've got the previous one before, and there it is. We're back online. So that gives you a sense of working with the assistant in the block environment. And this single source of truth being live is so important when it comes to things like creating, because a lot of people, if they've used AI, you've probably experienced hallucination. And one of the reasons you're experiencing hallucination is that the LLM essentially is trying to make sense of whatever information you've put in there. And often, and this is particularly true at larger companies, but it's true for largely everybody, you have multiple disconnected pieces of information that are contradicting each other. They're using different terminology. So as a result, you're starting to get back output that isn't necessarily accurate. So when we work in this environment, when we're in create mode, any of the team members can create something. So we'll write an email to our members, outline membership tiers, and include 15% off if they upgrade to the top tier this month. Now, the thing is, you'll notice here I'm not having to do loads of prompting. There's not loads of 10-line prompts, etc. It should feel like you're working with an employee. You can choose a different model. OpenAI or Anthropic. A lot of our users find Anthropic much better for editorial content, so we let them choose in this environment. And then you've got a host of different assistants. So if you're working on your own, all of a sudden you've got a host of different assistants that have got preloaded knowledge that's going to get you the best output for what they're doing. And what's happening now, and just to give you a sense of why this is so important, is this is referencing 100% of our single source of truth. So as a result, this is going to be accurate to what we want. You'll see these prices that we've got in here. That was all from earlier. Everything's locked in. It's ready to go. And you've got the discount there. And then if you have integrated our Zapier integration, which we just launched a couple of weeks ago, and I'll show you in a sec, show you a bit later on. If you've integrated that, you can now just send this straight to your email sender straight away. And it gets an automatic tagged email. It's got a headline. We can change this. We can tweak it. But that tag and the headline will then enable you to set the conditions to send this to your email sender straight away. And you can even sync this. So in future, if you ever make changes to things like pricing, you can just rerun this piece of content and it will come back online. And because you've synced it to wherever you've distributed it, it will update it at your email sender or your website in seconds. So that's kind of how create mode works. It's all based on that knowledge. So I cannot, if you're new to AI or if you're building your own company, I cannot overemphasize the importance of how important knowledge is in this space. It's a word that kind of wasn't used much, but now it's one of those words that is becoming more and more common, and people are really starting to understand the importance of it. There's a couple of other key things just to understand before I show you the power of the assistant. We also have notes. So notes on NOAN are kind of special. So you can add notes in multiple ways. You can ask the assistant to add a note, and anywhere you see here, that's the note that's been created by the assistant. You can add a note within a block environment. So this one here, you can see that this was actually created in the membership structure block. We're probably working with the assistant in that environment, and it's come up with a good idea that we're not ready for yet. So we can just drop it into the ideas box there, and it'll appear in this environment. And everything gets automatically headlined, just like with create mode, automatically titled, and it's available for you to work on later with the assistant. So Notes is becoming more and more of a powerful way that people are using NOAN. I think one thing with our Zapier integration as well is that you can now send anything into Notes. So for example, if you're using the likes of Firefly's AI to have a meeting and you've got meeting notes with a client, you can just get those sent straight into Notes, and then you can talk to the assistant and access them later. If you've got ideas, for example, we have a hot word on Slack where if we add that hot word, it will send the idea straight into Notes so that we can work on it later. So Notes is starting to become a place where you can really kind of store those thoughts, concepts, things for later that are something you want to work on. So I'll show you a bit more about that in a second. And then just over in activity, if you are a designer, there's a couple of things here that are useful to know. You're probably using Stripe. You can connect your Stripe account and it will give you AI analysis of your sales every 24 hours. And then you can also add your Google Analytics and it will do exactly the same. It will give you an overview of everything to be aware of, what to consider, all within this environment. And then your clients, or for you, you'll get AI-powered news on any client that you've added to NOAN, because this is taking essentially the business knowledge and then looking at the news and saying what's relevant to this. It's about as niche as it gets. And you can run as many companies as you want. So I'm currently in Peak Fitness and I'll switch to a couple more in a second. But for now, I want to just kind of show you the assistant, which is where a lot of the magic happens. Because once you've built out that knowledge within Smart Blocks, you can then do incredible things with a superhuman business partner at your side to enable you to run your company in an effective way, or work with your clients to help develop their businesses with an assistant that's got kind of a lot of power with you. So I'll show you now how that assistant works. And if you've got any, Christine, if you've got any more questions, do shout. But when you're working with the NOAN assistant, just remember, it always knows everything about your business, that single source of truth in your Smart Blocks at any time. It can also do a host of other things. So one thing we'll ask it is prioritize my tasks for today. The assistant can add, search, prioritize your tasks for you. And this is going to go through and look at all the tasks that I've got in the task manager here. And then it's going to give me rationale of what I should be working on right now. And that rationale is coming from the fact that it knows our business. So it's going to say, based on our business, this is what you should be doing today and what you should focus on, because this is the priority level. Now, it's up to you whether you do that. But one thing we all know, and we're entrepreneurs ourselves, is that sometimes you can procrastinate, you don't know what to work on, half the day can go by. Straight away, jump into NOAN, ask it what tasks to work on, and it's going to give you rationale of what you should get cracking with. You can also ask it to add or recall notes. So for example, here we'll just say in our notes, what are the best ideas for delivering quick growth to the business? And we've got a lot of things within the note space, and this is now going to go and it's just going to work out what we need, and it's going to go and look at the notes and look at the top ideas that we potentially got in there that could deliver immediate growth for the business. And you'll see within each one of these, it's got rationale again on why we should do it, what we could consider. And then what we can do is we can work with the assistant to start fleshing these out. So we could start getting cracking on what the strategy would look like, doing research, however we want to work on this. We can use the notes at any point. So we can ask it to recall things within the notes. We can ask it to add a note. So add a note to come up with specific workshops for, we'll put newbie climbers. So we'll put that. And the assistant now is going to go, and again, just via this is natural language. It's added a note within this space. And if we jump over, I think it's probably, here we go. Workshop ideas for new climbers. You'll see that the assistant has added that on behalf of me. And it's even fleshed out the note itself, because it knows our business, it knows what we do, and it's going to give extra details in this environment. So that's a great example of just how you can work with the assistant to do things like adding notes. I've got another great one, here, which is a really good example is, what new joiners did we have in March? Now, we can also upload documents and analyze them. So you can upload any documents into this space. At the moment, they're largely text-based. Visuals, we're going multimodal soon, but visuals are not fully available yet. But we'll ask it what new joiners did we have in March. And what should happen now is that the assistant's just going to work out where to go. It's going to go and look at our documents. And one of the things we've got is the new joiners document that we've added for this month. And we've got Dan Bowery, he's age 42. This is basically a description of me. I used to climb a lot, and I don't anymore. But he's 40, he's got 2 kids. He climbs twice a week, maintains body tension, etc. So here in this environment, you can then use this to create his workout plan, do anything you need. So the assistant can analyze documents. What we'll do is we'll say, add a task to work on Dan's program. And the assistant can now jump over and add a task here. And you'll see that this is where, to me, it becomes so powerful. All I said was add a task to work on Dan's program. And if you look here, you've got the full context of Dan, who it is, Dan Bowery, what he needs to focus on, maintaining body tension, considering his limited time and availability. So that just gives you a sense through the lens of this one. Imagine this is one of your clients, what's possible, right? Just to create content, work with the partner. Now I want to jump across and just show you a designer example to give you a sense of, as a designer, how you can then start to use NOAN with this partner kind of at your side. So I think I've got one down here. Where is it? Clean Slate Designs. There we go. Now there's a couple of things for Clean Slate Designs that I want to show you that are in knowledge that are different to the client, because obviously every business is different. And when you're a Squarespace designer, and again, I think this is one of the things that's worth just stopping and talking about for a second, which is if you are starting a Squarespace design business, or even if you've been running one for a while. I became a consultant and I'm running a consulting division for 7 years. One of the things I had to learn was, how do I build an SOW? Like, what does an SOW structure look like for my consulting arm? The thing about NOAN is that those blocks, you'll see here, I've added the agency block. In this environment, you can build out what your agency looks like. And you may not consider yourself an agency yet, but you're essentially an agency, a micro agency, even if you're on your own. And you can then jump in and develop your SOW structure. So you'll see here, this is the SOW structure that's been developed by AI. So this has all been developed working with the assistant for what an example scope of work, if anybody's not familiar, looks like for this Squarespace designer. And this has been generated fully with AI. Like I said, you can jump in, you can edit it, you can save it, etc. But the key thing is that now that's locked in, you can then use that same SOW to create new ones whenever you're working with clients. So that's one thing that's really important, is that NOAN works based on these blocks of knowledge. And as a new Squarespace designer, or one that's been working for a while, you should just be able to drop that in as an example template, and then you should be able to use the assistant or create mode to generate SOWs based on any new client you've got. And I'm going to show you that flow in a second. The other thing that we've got in here, a couple of other things, is like, added client testimonials. So we can always pepper a response to an RFP with a testimonial or some content. I think we've got some in here. Yeah, there's some testimonials we've got in there. We've got the processes and then the capabilities of what this agency actually does. And then I want to just show the product list, because I think this is quite important. One of the things that I think a lot of people do with AI is they overcomplicate the way they communicate with it. And sometimes less is more. And when you're working in these blocks, just giving super clear definitions of what you have does two things. One, it makes it really clear for the AI to use it and for NOAN to leverage it. Two, it can also be really helpful for you as a business to actually refine down what your business is at its core, because ultimately it's just elements, it's just blocks, and getting those refined down. So you'll see here we've got the product list that we offer, and then what we've done is we've gone through and taken that product list and we've clearly articulated for each element what we offer, what are the key features for designers, for our business in this space. So that gives you a sense of how this is set up. And we've got obviously the usual things, the foundations, customer and brand. Every business should have these, but then you're going to start to add whatever's relevant for you, and you can just pick those blocks from stacks and add them. Now, when you're working in this environment, I want to give you like a, we'll start again. I've added a couple of files to this, so I think it's been a while since I've used this. Yeah, there's an RFP here from TNC Co, which is, I think, from memory, like a lighting company that we've added, and they've sent out an RFP, request for proposal, to designers saying, hey, can you respond? And so we'll just say, what should we consider when responding to the TNC Co RFP? And now just through this should feel like you're talking to your business, which is what we're really aiming for. And it's going to go and look at that RFP, and it's going to say, this is what they're asking, this is what you offer, and as a result, these are the things that you should consider. So they've already got in there their target audience, who it is, it's got the proposal requirements, it's got the submission email, it's all there. So as a result, like within one command, like we're not having to put in a long prompt. We've just said, what should we consider? When it's looked at that RFP, it's gone and said, what do I need to do? I need to go look at the RFP. It's gone and analyzed the document. It's then come back and said, these are the things that they're looking for in their RFP. And this is who their target audience is, et cetera, et cetera. So this should feel natural and really easy for you to work with. And that's what we're trying to give you, which is an assistant that's really just a superhuman assistant that sits with you, whether you're on your own or whether you're in a team. But now we can say, let's imagine we've responded to this RFP and we've won this RFP, and then we'll say, right, an SOW for T and C Co company based on the RFP and our SOW format. And now it should do an SOW that's based on that RFP, what they need, our response, and our format that we've added within NOAN, and come back with essentially like an output of what we can do. And you'll see here, obviously, it knows the products, it knows what we offer, it's got our best practices, it's got the deliverables, the timeline, etc., the budget, all of that is in there. Now we could add these if we had them, acceptance criteria, done. Like we're good to go essentially. And then we could send that. So we could send that out, and now we could say, write the email to TNC Co, including, actually what we'll do is we'll just quickly add a task to follow up with them to ensure they've signed. And we've already actually got a follow-up call in here, but it's going to add, that's a kickoff call, I think, but it'll probably add now another task. There we go. To ensure they've signed, confirm they've received, reviewed, signed the statement of work for the website design project. If there are any questions or require clarifications, they can promptly keep the project timeline on track. So it's fleshed it out for us. And now that we've got our Zapier integration, you could basically just deploy that straight away and send that out. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is because of the fact that it knows our business, it knows our products, it knows the RFP, we'll also say, like, what should we be worried about with scope creep with this project? Now, if you are working with clients, you will be more than familiar with scope creep. I experienced it a lot. And it's going to come back and give us a list of things we should be aware of. Oh, sorry. Let me just refresh. It should go back and give us all the things that we should be aware of. Oh, I'll do that again. Hang on one second. There we go. We might, well, if you see that, we're normally deploying something, and I'm not sure I told the team that I was doing a webinar, so we'll see what happens. But there you go. It comes back and gives us straight away what we should be aware of, the issues we should have, how we should mitigate against them, be aware of it, etc. So again, like what we're really trying to create for you is a partner that's in this space that can work with you, that can analyze documents, add notes, look at tasks, and just help you in every single way you need, but always know that single source of truth for your business at any time.
Neal, the assistant is incredible. That's something that is new since I've been in NOAN playing around since the last time we chatted. So I'm super impressed about how you can feed it documents or just have it do things like just prioritize my tasks. Here's what I have to do. Tell me the order I need to do these in. And the fact that you can feed it information and have it ideate or do research for you, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to change topics. So go ahead and then we'll.
No, I was going to say there's a couple other things. So we've got some major updates coming to the assistant over the next week or so, which are going to take it on another level. There's one thing I didn't show you actually, which is that the assistant, one of the key things about the assistant is that once you've got that knowledge in those knowledge blocks, you can actually work directly with the assistant. So you can say, what is our current target audience age? And the assistant will now work out. And to your point, like one of the key things about how we're building the assistant is I haven't told it what to actually do. It's gone and worked out whether I need a note, whether I need a task, whether I need a document. And it's an incredible piece of architecture actually on how that works. But it comes back and says, okay, our target audience age is 18 to 65 plus. Let's change that to 20 to 40. And then what the assistant will do now is it's going to work out what I needed, and we're going to actually accept that change. And then what this will do is this will change it for anyone who's using create mode, any of the assistants across the platform. We've now changed our business strategy and approach just by talking to this assistant.
I love this. So you don't have to go back into every knowledge block. You just talk to the assistant and it's going to update everything for you.
It'll update them for you. Yeah. And you can back and forth with it and you can accept changes and you can do it again. And you can tweak it because, one of the things we're trying to do is really give you voice control of your business. And, the future of AI companies is really about knowledge management and what you want your company to do and where you want it to go. And that's really what we're building the foundations for here. So we're going to add more and more capabilities to the assistant imminently. The Zapier integration makes it incredibly powerful because you can zap create mode stuff out. You can zap anything into notes or into tasks. And we actually recently did and Markham will probably put the webinar that we did in the chat, but we did one last week where we really demoed that and went through it.
Awesome.
So that really improves, like it makes it like a centralized business brain basically for your business.
Well, I know we are at like 40 minutes, but if you have time, we alluded to something earlier about, if you're a new Squarespace designer and you're spinning up a portfolio, or perhaps you are building out templates to sell, you can use NOAN to essentially create the structure and content for those websites. What's the minimum that you would need to feed into the knowledge blocks to make that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll show you actually. I mean, this is a farm that I added, and I'll show you the Squarespace website. So this is a farm that we've built within NOAN. Give me 1 second while there we go. So just from a knowledge blocks perspective, you need your foundations. Every company needs its foundations. I think one of the key things to understand about every business, and this will be true about your business, Christy, or my business, is like, what's the origin story that impacts all different areas from your mission and vision to your positioning. It's a really vital part of every kind of business. So you need at least like your foundations. You really need your target audience of who you're going after, because what that does is, if you're not familiar with doing brand strategy, you'll know target audience from a website design perspective, but the target audience really impacts then how you think about doing things like positioning the brand itself. This is the mission and vision, the brand positioning of who you're going after. You really kind of want those three things. And then you just want to add like what the relevant products are. So this is the products that they sell. And that for the most part is what I added for this farm. And just to reiterate, it took me building this out because when you're in any of these, you can generate this with AI and just move on. And when you move on, you know that the ideal customer, when you generate that with AI, is going to reflect the audience interest, and then the audience segmentation is going to reflect it. So it's all connected. You can just generate.
Yeah, one quick question for you here. So
Yeah.
a lot of us work with service providers. Would services fall under the product block there?
Yeah, so
Okay.
kind of like service providers, like consultants, or in that
Yeah,
kind of
just say
space.
like it's a law firm. So perhaps
Yeah,
they do family law. So you could list, like adoption or
yeah,
divorce, or would those be products?
yeah. That would fit in
Okay,
products. Put those in
great.
products, and we actually, I don't think we have a legal stack. I'll take a look later and check, but we should probably
Okay.
add one for any potential lawyers. I know we've had interest from lawyers using the platform,
Mhm.
so it's worth us adding. But yeah,
I'm
service.
working on a template for lawyers, so that's top of
Oh,
mind for
yeah,
me.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. Because again, it's like a lawyer has to then go and do marketing, and
Right.
they don't know anything about marketing. But they've got to market their business or build it. So,
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons we're seeing people like that using NOAN. But yeah, that would be their products, right? Like
Okay.
ultimately, service provider, that would be their products, unless they're offering a subscription, and then that would be part of their like membership structure. But yeah, you'd add that within the product space.
Okay.
And then, in here, I've added their products, and that's probably enough. I've added some extra stacks for this one because it's a farm. So I've
Yeah.
added a bit more here on what they do. And they have an Airbnb, like a lot of farms have Airbnb properties. And we wanted to
Mhm.
show you can add multiple different aspects to your company. But I'll
Gotcha.
just switch and show you, this
Yeah.
is, and, bear in mind, this is a template, right? So I've just lifted a
Right.
template to get this up and running. Everything on here these are all stock unsplash images.
Mhm.
All the copy is created within create mode. I
So you're
asked
just
it for
copying and pasting it into this template.
straight into the template.
Mhm.
I've asked it for the page structure. So I've asked the
Mhm.
assistant, what pages should I have? And we've got life on the farm, the blog, about, and the cottage. That's basically it.
Got it.
We've got all this copy is all via create mode in the assistant.
Mhm.
And then the produce, this is all this is written by this. There's nothing on here I've written, by the way. This is all
Mhm.
AI generated. So all of that. Then we've got we've got an about page.
Mhm.
And the about page takes into consideration the entire company because it knows that they've got the Airbnb, it knows everything else. It's got the origin story, the
Yeah.
roots. Like, this, if you landed on this site, you'd think this was a legitimate farm.
Mhm.
You've then we did 4 blogs. And to be honest, I could have done more, but I just stopped at 30 minutes. And
Copy and
these are
pasting gets old. Yeah.
I can keep doing this, but that's where like the Zapier integration is great. It's just deploy. Unfortunately, you can't deploy to Squarespace, but that's a whole
Yeah.
other conversation. And then we've added even just the Airbnb, the cottage,
Mhm.
and you'll see here like nestled in the heart of Devon. This is all relevant to this business. So if
Mhm.
you're looking to build a site that's relevant to, if you wanted to build a law firm example,
Mhm.
it would be really easy and quick for you to do exactly what I've done here. And
Yeah.
then you've got the screenshots, you do a video walkthrough of how you went through it and structured it. And then
Mhm.
you just build another one. And honestly, if
Yeah.
I sat down in the morning, you could build 20 Squarespace. You could build 20 in a day. There's no
Mhm.
doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
And you just bang through them pretty quickly.
Yeah. And we've touched before on client mode, which is something that if you're a Squarespace designer, you can actually open up part of these blocks to your clients and ask them to fill them out so that you don't have to go through and copy and paste their responses in. You're actually giving them access. And I'll
Yeah.
let you show that, Neal.
Yeah, I'll show that now because that one is, for us, like sharing knowledge and working with clients on knowledge.
Mhm.
I've had to do onboardings before so many times with clients. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
like that. So this is client mode. So imagine this is actually TNC Co. We've won that client. We've won that
Mhm.
company. What we've done is we've gone into settings and we've set up, because NOAN is, just so everyone knows, it's block-based permissions. So if you have
Mhm.
we had somebody join the company who within 20 minutes was creating all of our onboarding emails using create mode access, they can just access create mode. So it's block-based permissions, and one of those blocks you can have is client mode. So you'll see here, I've selected relevant blocks that I want to gather from the client. This is my onboarding. Depending on who the client is, you'd select more. You've got all the stacks available there, but that's what we've chosen. And then we've jumped down into client mode, and what we've done is we've turned it on, and we've then added our logo. So client mode is fully white label. We're about to roll out
Amazing.
the URL under your URL subdomain, but at the moment that's still under NOAN, but very soon it'll be under yours. But it's white label. So you add your logo, you choose your primary colors, and then you've got full control. So you see here, I've activated the onboarding, I've activated the dashboard. And what we're doing is giving the client a client dashboard. Now we don't have to do that. We can just use a form. And if we've got that turned off, they'll get sent a form. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But the dashboard's really where the power lies, particularly because a lot of clients can't create content. So I'll show you that now. So what we've done is I'll turn these off for the moment, and we'll just turn the dashboard on, and then I'll jump across, and I will just switch to, let me work out how to do this because I'm on a different, present something else, different window for a second, bear with me. And here we go. So this is what the client will see. And I'll actually just refresh it because I changed what they were able to see. So you'll see here our logo's there, TNC code, they've come into the dashboard. We've done a couple of things. We've got what we call quick share, where you can add a meeting link, you can add a Google Drive link if you want them to add images, that's all there. And then the client, the first thing they'll go through is this experience, which basically feels like Typeform. And props to everybody who was on one of your webinars that suggested for us to shift it, because what it does is basically takes the block concept, but for the client makes it really easy. Just tell us about me. And whatever blocks you've selected to share with the client, they're going to appear here. So you'll see here the origin story, they've added it. Now, the key thing to understand is as soon as they add those blocks, they appear on your side straight away, and you can see how many they've done. So all of a sudden, you can do a couple of things. You can start fleshing them out if you want to make changes. You can then work with the assistant and say, based on this company, what web pages do I need? And it's going to tell you straight away. You can then jump into create mode when they've got near the end and start creating all the content that you might need to fill those blank pages, if that's how you're building out your business. So that's the power of that seamless onboarding, because it drops in as knowledge on your side. But what you can then do is we'll switch on a couple of things. I know if you are a designer, one of the things we've heard from so many people is my clients don't deliver the content on time.
Right.
They can't create content. And to be honest with you, like, why should they? That lawyer you're working with, they are not content creators. Why should they copy, right? Like they should do. And so what we'll do is we'll turn on a couple of things. So I'm going to turn on the task widget. I'm going to turn on create mode, and then we'll refresh again, and we'll see that these have now popped up. So you can ping the client and say, hey, like I've set you some tasks. So one of those is to create about page copy. And now that you've done the onboarding, I've given you access to create your about page. So in this environment, you can see here, I've kind of done it before. You can jump in and say, like, can we create the about page for our company? And boom, like, here it is, done.
Amazing.
Great. We'll take that and put that in. Perfect. So if you don't want to own content creation, you can use this as a way to then just get your client to create the content you need. You'll see it on your side whenever they create, and I'll show you that in a second. They can make it,
and they can go in and edit any of this, and
yeah. So this is all editable, so you can jump in and edit it, etc. And then any of these are like available, and you can make things. If you create something that you don't want them to see, you can lock it on your side.
Great.
And that'll be locked. And then the other thing that's possible is that, and I'll jump back to the dashboard. So we've set them some tasks, you can see they completed them. They see them, we see them. But what I'll also do is I'll turn on the dashboard assistant, and then I'll just refresh again. And you'll see here that the dashboard assistant will pop up. And there it is. And what we've now done is under our white label version of NOAN in client mode, we've now given them a 24/7 dashboard assistant for any questions they have that always knows their business. So in this environment, you see, I've asked previously, like, another one that we had from people was like, oh my God, they don't know how to set up Facebook ads, right? Like that's a classic problem, right? So in this environment, we've asked, who is our target audience? And because you, the consultant, has built that out, or they've added it, it's got the target audience here straight away. You've built out the segmentation, great. And then we'll say, how do we create lookalike audiences for them on Facebook? And it's going to step us through. And you'll notice it's all relevant to TC company, etc. So you can even use this, and we've got some users using it for things like basic questions. How do I connect my Calendly? We'll ask that assistant, and it knows information. I know that's something that like other Squarespace designers have got asked
Yeah.
after, and they're not IT, right? Like I had a designer say to me, "I'm not the IT department."
Right.
With this client, and they're asking me how to connect their Calendly. Well, now they can just ask that assistant. And I think one of the key things about client mode is you can sell this for whatever you want as part of your support package, right? Like you can charge your client and say, "Hey, we've done the work. We're going to use NOAN. If you want to continue with support in this environment to create content, to use the assistant, you're more than happy to, I'm going to charge XYZ a month, and you can just pay me. That's fine by us. We're not bothered by that." The thing that you can also do is now you can transfer that to the client. So we've set up transfer actually since we last met, where you can just jump in and transfer that.
Love it.
Do that. If you've joined the NOAN referral program, you'll get a referral for every month that they're using NOAN, continue to use NOAN. So we're just trying to make it as seamless as possible for you to build your own business and then transfer it to the clients, or retain that client with your own white label version, because clients might not want to drop into a version of NOAN that's a bit more complex if they're on their own.
Right.
Maybe they're happy using this. They might just have to come back to you to update certain aspects of it. But if that's your business model, that's fine. If your business model is to transfer, you can transfer and they can use it.
Awesome. This was a great walkthrough, Neal. Yeah, I'll go ahead and hide that. And I think, one of the things is, as you're playing with NOAN, there's so much there that I think the kind of going through the minimums of getting started to get content from your clients, or to create, a fake company for your portfolio or for a template, that was really helpful for me to see kind of what the bare minimum is to get started. And then, as you get more familiar with the platform, you can grow what you're doing there. But just getting started with those very simple tasks, which if you didn't have NOAN would take a really long time, but getting started in NOAN, you're starting your tasks there, and then you can just build on that. So, once you create that template, you could start like, how do I market this, and start thinking about it like that with NOAN. So really, really helpful. I want to just say kudos to you and the team, because so we started talking about NOAN months and months ago, and you've grown it so much. But one of the things that I love about it is how, with all of its power, how simple you've kept the user interface, just with the icons. And it's really clearly it's clear where you are in the system. It's clear what you're doing. It's clear if you generated something or the assistant generated it. It's really a lovely job that you've done there. So I know it's become very complex, but you've kept it minimally designed and simple to use, which is huge.
I really appreciate that. And I know the team will. I mean, our goal is that you can talk to your company, and there's no reason why you shouldn't, right? Like that's our goal. And we're trying to go for as simple as possible. And I think it's quite a complex concept for people to understand that like this is possible. And so we've tried to focus as much as we can on that. And just on the feedback, I'd love to just say that, a lot of our users and users that have come from your webinars in the past and others, they're feeding back to us all of the time. So if you join NOAN, you can join. It's free for 7 days. And Christy's got a link below that will give you a discount for the first 3 months. So use her link and that code. It's free for the first 7 days. And then you can try it out, and then you can jump in and get going. You can run 5 clients with it. But most importantly, give us feedback, and we will keep iterating on the product. And building with AI isn't easy. You're trying to control something like that. But you might find the odd bug, but give us feedback for new features that make your life easier. Because if they make your life easier, I can guarantee you they make another entrepreneur's life easier. But everyone will have experienced the problem. And then we'll try and work a way to do that as simply as possible to kind of help everybody.
And you guys actually do that. So since we first met, you talked about how with the client mode, you made it very simple for the client to answer those questions. That's something that some designers brought up on that call. And you're like, yeah, we've got it now. So you guys actually do listen and implement the feedback. So yeah, thank you for that. It just keeps getting better and better.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to drop anything in the comments later, and I can get you in touch with Neal. You guys can monitor the comments as well. It's getnoan.com, and try it out. See what you think. Free for 7 days, or you can use my link below. And if you decide to sign up, there is a code Christy20 for 20% off your first 3 months. Neal, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I'll see you next time.
Everyone.
Bye.